Welcome to Legal and Lucrative, an interview series from CFO Accounting Services. In each episode, we sit down with attorneys to talk about the real side of running and growing a law practice. The people, the challenges, and the decisions that don't always show up on a balance sheet. We'll explore leadership, balance, and the financial realities of firm ownership, and share practical insights to help attorneys build practices that are both successful and sustainable.
The first question is just, what inspired you to start your own practice, or in your case, like taking the leap into leadership and authoring? And what surprised you most about running your firm, or whichever one of those you want to talk about?
Well, that's interesting because I was in a law firm, of course. I started in a law firm that my dad was a partner in right when I came out of law school. So I actually worked for a law firm for 27 years. And then I made the decision to step away from that law firm to go out on my own. It was a big moment for me to do that. And it took me 27 years to figure out how to make that happen. So it's a big question since I did it so much later in my career. And I think the answer is I am just now learning how entrepreneurial I think I always was, but I wasn't really taught to be an entrepreneur. I wasn't taught to own my own thing. I was taught to find a skill and fit in and find a way to move up, right? I was raised by boomers and I'm a Gen Xer. And so that feels like that's the path that I was told to take. And as I got older, especially since COVID came around and I had children who were older, teenagers at that time, I started to see a lot of opportunity everywhere that I was maybe missing out on. Creative opportunities to fill my cup, so to speak, and not necessarily fill my bank account as much, but to fill my cup more. And so I think I got the nerve to go out on my own because I was financially comfortable enough to do that. And I had a
Mm.
supportive spouse, but I did have to decide to give up everything that I had known or had worked for up until that point. So that I feel like that's a pretty big accomplishment. It's still learning. I'm still
Yeah.
trying to figure out if I'm even doing the right thing. Before I got on the phone with you, I've been going over numbers and is this working, that kind of stuff. That's how I ended up doing my own private practice, but I definitely love it. That's for sure. If I can
Mm.
maintain it.
So, how do you balance being both a lawyer and the business owner, managing your clients if you have a team, and your personal life?
Yeah, well, it's interesting because I have to add one more component. I'm a full-time bankruptcy lawyer and I'm also a full-time content creator on social
Mm.
media. So I make a tremendous amount of content about bankruptcy, educational content, that kind of stuff. So I have to balance it all and it is very difficult to figure out. I do think that my age and the fact that I was in a firm for 27 years gave me a lot of insight in terms of things that I understand overhead and I understand roll ups and I understand things that a lot of people who are just coming into the space don't quite understand. But yeah, I'm trying to make a go at it. And I think that there's just a tremendous amount of opportunity and we're all letting a lot of it slide by. I'm just trying to grab it while I can.
So, when you think about growth, what is your main focus right now? More clients, stronger profits?
I think probably systems, making sure that systems are in place, CRM systems and things that help the work propel along without as much intervention, make sure that you're moving forward. The systems I think are the most important right now. And of course, getting a handle on expenses and making sure you're spending money in the right places. But definitely the systems to optimize cash flow so that we can make sure we know where we're going, which direction we're going in all the time.
For sure. So, what
Yeah.
has been your biggest financial challenge as a firm owner, and how have you tried to tackle it?
Well, the biggest financial problem or concern is predicting in a very unpredictable market what's going to happen. My income fluctuates a lot because of the inconsistency of what I do, right? People aren't filing bankruptcy at Christmas time, they're filing bankruptcy at tax time, right? So it's getting it's figuring out a year-long plan, usually, in terms of cash flow. Like everybody else, I'm assuming.
Yeah, yeah. Everybody's take home is a little bit different. So, how do you make your most important business decisions? Do you rely on data, intuition, or advice from others, or something different?
Well, I mean, in terms of, I think it's really important to separate out things that you need to have data to figure out, right? Like, I'm not going to figure out my taxes just by my gut, right? But I am going to determine what direction my business goes more so from a gut feeling. So I use my gut in the places in the big picture kind of categories, and I try to drill it down to data to figure out if it's realistic, right? Or if that's possible. Yeah.
So, looking back, what's one thing you wish you'd understood about the business side of running a firm earlier in the process?
I think that the business skills, right? Understanding things like liability insurance and CRM systems and how valuable they are. I think those are the types of things that a lot of people don't understand. I definitely think that the intricacies of a business, understanding the buildings and the phones and the staff and the roll-ups, these are things that I'm really deeply, these are what people are texting me about right now as my phone is going off. I've got my paralegal, I've got a money person trying to text me about numbers, and we're trying to figure out what this year looks like. And I think that's
Mm.
something that's really, really hard, that people don't understand how important it is to do some capital planning and making sure you're understanding what it's supposed to look like in 6 months, what it's supposed to look like in a year, what it's supposed to look like in 5 years, that kind of thing. I think that's hard. And I think I wish I had understood just a little bit more about the business itself, because even as a partner in a firm, we farmed out a lot of this stuff because we were such a big firm. And now that I'm smaller, I have to manage some of this stuff myself. And so I think those things are the interesting parts of trying to figure this all out. I wish
Good
I'd
way.
known more about business.
Yeah, they don't teach you that in law school. That's for
They
sure.
don't teach you a lot of things in law school. They don't teach you a lot of this type of stuff in law school.
Right.
You're
Last question. What would it take for you to feel fully confident about your firm's financial future and growth potential?
It would, not sure. I'm not sure what that would take. I think that is more of a gut feeling. I think that is something I feel that the success of my business largely depends on me showing up and providing the services and being able to uh, do it making a profit, not just making it a hobby, right? Yeah. So
I believe
not
that's
super
the last
clear.
question.
It's hard because I haven't been on my own for a year and a half. So,
Yeah,
and it's different because I had a lot of resources available to me when I was a partner in a firm. I have much fewer resources available to me, and I'm still even figuring out what I don't know.
right. Well, that was my last question. Is there anything else you'd like to add or
No, I'm always willing to sit and help people who are trying to gather data and get more intel into what it is that you're doing. I'm unique because I'm off on my own. I was in a firm for a while. I went of counsel. So my situation is somewhat unique, but I think the primary concerns are the same for a lot of people is
does include several women single attorney firms? So this is helpful there in varying degrees of their firm length. So I do appreciate you doing
yeah.
this tremendously. Thank you for your time.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of Legal and Lucrative. A big thank you to our guest for such an honest and insightful conversation. For free tools and resources to help improve cash flow and profitability, head over to www.cfoaccountingservices.com. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss future episodes. We'll see you next time.